Snoop Dogg has recently talked about new information involving Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. The things being discussed are surprising and make people question what we thought we knew for years. Some of these details even point toward people no one expected. But the big question remains, is this enough to finally solve the murders of two of the greatest rappers ever, almost 30 years later? Let's go through the story step by step. Tupac Shakur and Christopher "Biggie" Wallace were two of the most talented rappers hip-hop has ever seen. One represented the West Coast, the other the East Coast. Their names became connected to one of the most famous rivalries in music history. But this story is not just about music. It is about friendships, misunderstandings, street violence, and decisions that changed everything. What many people forget is that Tupac and Biggie were close friends at first. They were not enemies from the start. They supported each other, learned from each other, and believed in each other's talent. In the early 1990s, both of them were still trying to make it big. Tupac had already started getting attention for his deep lyrics and powerful messages. Biggie was known for his storytelling and smooth flow. When they met around 1993, they connected right away. Tupac let Biggie stay at his home in Los Angeles when he was visiting. He brought Biggie to movie sets and studio sessions. They spent time together like real friends. Tupac once said Biggie's rap style was beautiful, and Biggie said Tupac inspired him. Their respect was real. At the same time, hip-hop itself was changing. New York had been the center of rap since the beginning, and many East Coast artists believed their style was the only true hip-hop. When West Coast music started becoming popular, especially after NWA, some people felt threatened. This caused tension between the two coasts. Record labels noticed this tension and used it to sell more music. On the West Coast, Death Row Records, led by Suge Knight, became very powerful. On the East Coast, Bad Boy Records, led by Sean Diddy Combs, was rising fast with Biggie as its star. The media helped turn this rivalry into a big public fight. Everything changed on November 30, 1994. Tupac went to Quad Recording Studios in New York to record a verse. While he was there, he was attacked, robbed, and shot 5 times. He survived, but he was deeply hurt and confused. Biggie and Diddy were in the building that night, and Tupac believed they knew more than they admitted. Even though they denied being involved, Tupac felt betrayed. After this, trust was broken. When Biggie released the song, "Who Shot Ya?", Tupac believed it was meant to insult him, even though Biggie said it was written before the shooting. From Tupac's point of view, the friendship was over. In 1995, Suge Knight helped Tupac get out of prison and signed him to Death Row Records. Tupac fully joined the West Coast side of the rivalry. His music became more aggressive, and the anger between both sides grew. At the Source Awards that year, the tension became public and uncomfortable. On September 7, 1996, Tupac was in Las Vegas after a boxing match. Earlier that night, there was a fight in a casino involving Tupac and a man connected to a gang. Later that night, while Tupac was sitting in a car at a red light, another car pulled up and shots were fired. Tupac was hit multiple times. He was taken to the hospital and fought for his life for 6 days. On September 13, 1996, Tupac Shakur died. He was only 25 years old. After Tupac's death, Biggie felt trapped. Many people blamed him, even though there was no proof. Biggie spoke publicly about wanting the fighting to stop. He understood how powerful their influence had been and wanted peace. In March 1997, Biggie was in Los Angeles promoting his new album, Life After Death. After leaving a party, his car was pulled up on by another vehicle. Shots were fired, and Biggie was hit. He died later that night at the hospital. He was only 24 years old. Both murders remained unsolved for many years. People came up with many theories. Some believed gangs were responsible. Others believed powerful people in the music industry were involved. Some even believed Tupac faked his death, though this has been proven false by medical records and his family. In 2023, a major development happened. A man named Dwayne Kef D. Davis was arrested and charged in connection with Tupac's murder. He had previously talked about being involved in interviews and a book. He says now that he lied, but prosecutors believe they have enough evidence to move forward. His trial is scheduled for 2026. Even with this arrest, many questions remain. Biggie's murder is still unsolved. The pain from losing both artists is still felt today. Tupac and Biggie were more than rivals. They were young men with talent, dreams, and a future that was taken from them too soon. Their music lives on, but their lives were cut short before they could grow older, raise families, and see how much the world loved them. Almost 30 years later, their story is still a lesson. Words matter. Pride can be dangerous. And the line between music and real life can sometimes disappear. Tupac Shakur and Christopher Wallace should still be here. Instead, they became legends forever remembered at 25 and 24. And that may be the saddest part of all. For almost 30 years, one question has never gone away. Who really killed Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G.? Two young men who changed music forever were taken away before they even reached 30. And even today, people are still arguing, guessing, and searching for the truth. Recently, new conversations have started again. People like Snoop Dogg and others close to that time are speaking more openly. Old interviews are being rewatched. Old documents are being reopened. And new arrests have made people believe that maybe, just maybe, the truth is finally coming out. But to understand what really happened, we have to go back to the beginning. Because this story did not start with gunshots. It did not start with hate. It started with friendship. Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls were once close. They laughed together, made music together, and supported each other when nobody else believed in them. They were young, hungry, and full of dreams. Both of them came from hard lives. Both of them used music to tell their stories. And both of them were becoming voices for millions of people around the world. At first, there was no East Coast versus West Coast war. There were no sides to pick. There were just two talented artists trying to survive and succeed in a tough industry. But slowly, things changed. The music business became more competitive. Record labels wanted more attention. Media wanted drama. And the streets were already full of tension. Small misunderstandings turned into big problems. Rumors spread faster than the truth. And once trust was broken, it was hard to fix. One night in New York changed everything. Tupac was shot and robbed inside a recording studio. He survived, but his heart was wounded even more than his body. He believed people he trusted had something to do with it. Whether that was true or not, the damage was already done. From that moment on, the friendship between Tupac and Biggie never recovered. The situation kept getting worse. Music became angry. Words became weapons. Fans chose sides. The media made the rivalry bigger than life. What started as a personal problem turned into a national fight. Then the worst happened. In 1996, Tupac was shot in Las Vegas and died days later. The world was shocked. Music felt different. People felt like they lost someone they personally knew. Just 6 months later, Biggie was shot and killed in Los Angeles. Another young life gone. Another legend lost. 2 murders, no clear answers. For decades, families waited. Fans waited. Hip-hop waited. Some people said gangs were responsible. Some said powerful people were involved. Some even believed Tupac was still alive. The truth became buried under rumors and fear. Now, with new arrests and old stories coming back into the light, people are asking again, was this all just street violence? Or was there more going on behind the scenes? This is not just a story about rap. It is a story about how anger can grow, how misunderstandings can destroy lives, and how words spoken in songs can have real-world consequences. Before the shots, before the beef, before the legends were lost, there was a friendship. And understanding that friendship is the key to understanding everything that came after. Tupac Shakur and Christopher Wallace came from different places, but their struggles were similar. Tupac grew up moving from city to city, surrounded by strong ideas about justice, pain, and survival. Biggie grew up in Brooklyn, facing poverty and danger from a young age. Music became their escape and their power. When they met in the early 1990s, they connected naturally. Tupac was already gaining attention as a thoughtful and fearless rapper. Biggie was still coming up, learning and sharpening his skills. Tupac helped him, encouraged him, and treated him like family. Biggie looked up to Tupac and respected his confidence and vision. During this time, hip-hop was changing fast. The East Coast had always been seen as the home of rap, but the West Coast was rising quickly, especially with artists from Los Angeles. Instead of celebrating growth, many people turned it into competition. Record labels saw money in rivalry. Radio stations talked about it nonstop. Fans argued. Slowly, artists were pushed into choosing sides, even if they didn't want to. The turning point came in 1994. Tupac went to a studio in New York and was attacked and shot. He survived, but he felt betrayed. Biggie and Diddy were nearby that night, and Tupac believed they knew more than they admitted. They denied it, but Tupac could not shake the feeling. After that, trust disappeared. When Biggie released a song that sounded like it was mocking the shooting, Tupac took it personally. Even if the song was not meant that way, the timing made things worse. Tupac later went to prison, and when he came out, he was angry and ready to fight back. He joined Death Row Records and fully embraced the West Coast identity. His music became more aggressive, calling out names and expressing his pain openly. The rivalry grew beyond music. It entered real life. Crowds felt the tension. Award shows felt unsafe. People feared that something bad would happen. In 1996, after a fight in a Las Vegas casino, Tupac was shot in a drive-by shooting. He died days later. The loss shook the world. People mourned, protested, and demanded answers. Biggie was deeply affected. He spoke about wanting peace and ending the conflict, but fear followed him. Just months later, while visiting Los Angeles, Biggie was shot and killed. 2 deaths, no justice. Years passed, the pain remained, families never got closure. Fans kept searching, documentaries were made, books were written, everyone had a theory. In 2023, a man named Kef D was arrested in connection to Tupac's murder. He had spoken about the crime before, claiming involvement. Now, the courts are deciding whether his words will finally lead to justice. Even now, Biggie's case remains unsolved. This story is not about choosing who was better. It is about recognizing what was lost. 2 young men with different styles but equal greatness. 2 lives ended too soon because anger grew faster than understanding. Their music still plays, their voices still inspire, but their absence reminds us of how fragile life can be. And maybe the real lesson is this: if friendship had been protected instead of pride, hip-hop history might have been very different. Below is a combined conclusion, plus call to action written as one complete section. ~1,000 words. Tone is calm, respectful, not shouting, and easy for a 10-year-old to understand, while still emotional and powerful. When we look back at the lives of Tupac Shakur and Christopher Wallace, it becomes clear that their story is not just about music, fame, or rivalry. It is a story about choices, pressure, fear, and the cost of misunderstanding. 2 young men who once supported each other ended up on opposite sides of a conflict that grew far beyond them. And in the end, both of them paid the highest price. Tupac was only 25 years old when he died. Biggie was just 24. Most people at that age are still figuring out who they are, still making mistakes, still learning how to handle success and pain. Tupac and Biggie were doing that while the whole world watched, judged, and sometimes pushed them into roles they did not fully choose. What makes this tragedy even harder is knowing that it did not have to happen this way. At the beginning, there was respect. There was friendship. There was a shared love for hip-hop and a belief that music could change lives. But once trust was broken, it was replaced by anger. And anger, when mixed with fame, money, and street politics, can become very dangerous. The East Coast versus West Coast beef started as words in songs, but words have power. When millions of people listen, repeat, and believe those words, they begin to shape reality. Fans took sides. Media pushed the conflict. Record labels benefited from the attention. Meanwhile, the artists themselves were surrounded by people who did not always have their best interests at heart. Tupac felt hunted and betrayed. Biggie felt trapped and misunderstood. Both were under pressure every single day. And instead of slowing things down, the world kept speeding them up. Even now, decades later, the pain is still there. Families still grieve. Fans still argue. And the justice system has not fully delivered answers. The arrest connected to Tupac's case gives some hope, but it does not bring him back. And Biggie's case remains open. A reminder that some wounds never fully heal. But there is something powerful we can take from this story. Their music still lives. Tupac's words still speak about struggle, hope, and standing up for yourself. Biggie's stories still paint pictures of life, ambition, and survival. New generations who were not even born when they died still know their songs, their voices, and their impact. That is legacy. At the same time, their story teaches us important lessons. It shows what can happen when communication breaks down. It shows how quickly rumors can turn into hatred. It shows how pride can stop people from asking for peace. And it shows how important it is to protect life over image, ego, or winning an argument. If Tupac and Biggie were alive today, hip-hop might look very different. They might have grown, changed their views, and even worked together again. They might have mentored younger artists. They might have used their voices to heal instead of divide. We will never know, and that is one of the hardest parts. So where does that leave us now? It leaves us with a responsibility. A responsibility to remember them not just as rivals, but as human beings. A responsibility to stop turning their deaths into entertainment or endless arguments. And a responsibility to learn from the past so history does not repeat itself. This is also where you come in. If this story moved you, take a moment to think about what it means. Think about how easily misunderstandings grow. Think about how powerful words can be. And think about how important it is to choose peace when things start to go wrong. If you believe Tupac and Biggie deserved better, honor them by supporting unity instead of division. Share their music with respect. Talk about their story with honesty, not rumors. And encourage conversations that bring people together, not push them apart. If you want to keep learning about hip-hop history, about untold stories, and about moments that shape the culture, stay connected. Watch the next video. Read more. Ask questions. The more we understand the past, the better choices we can make in the future. And if you enjoyed this video, take a second to support the channel. Like the video so more people can hear this story. Subscribe if you want more deep dives like this one. And leave a comment sharing what Tupac or Biggie's music means to you, or what lesson you think the world should remember from their lives. Every view, every comment, and every conversation helps keep their legacy alive in the right way. Tupac Shakur and Christopher Wallace were not just rap legends. They were sons, friends, and young men trying to find their way. They deserved time. They deserved growth. They deserved to grow old. Instead, they became symbols of both hip-hop's greatness and its darkest chapter. As we close this chapter, remember this. Legends never truly die, but the pain of losing them too soon should never be forgotten. Rest in peace to Tupac Shakur. Rest in peace to the Notorious B.I.G. And thank you for taking the time to listen.